Can I make iron in my back garden? I've seen a few videos on YouTube, and it seems all you really need is a charcoal furnace and some iron to melt, or some iron ore. So this is my experiment. The soil in my garden is mostly clay with a thin layer of gravel. So I dug a hole about 30 centimetres deep, dug another hole which intersects at an angle, comes in at the bottom, and this is where I'll be supplying the air. I'm using cheap lumpwood charcoal, some scrap steel wool which I obtained, and some various random scraps of iron, some old nails, bolts, random things like that. Not trying to smelt iron ore this time, just see if I can get it hot enough to melt down the iron and see if I can get some sort of bloom to form. Started the fire off just with some steel wool, that burns well, gave it some air from the compressor, and as you can see it was burning quite brightly fairly quickly. As soon as I added the charcoal, the flames really got up. The charcoal I'd used had some sort of starter fluid impregnated, but that doesn't matter, you'll soon see it flared off in the next couple of clips. Soon the whole thing was burning pretty well. The whole thing, once it was burning, really sounded like a rocket. So I just started adding more iron, more scraps, a layer of charcoal, more scraps, more charcoal, and just let the whole thing burn, occasionally poking it to see what was happening. Once all the iron was added, I backfilled with more charcoal, turned the compressor to maximum to really get the heat up, and then just let the whole thing burn down. With the compressor running flat out, the rest of the charcoal burned off in about 20 minutes, so I just let it cool down to see when I would be able to get the bloom. One major disadvantage with just doing this in a hole in the ground, you have to wait till the whole thing cools off before you can see what the results are. There's a definite advantage to doing this in something you can dismantle and get the bloom while it's still hot. It took about 5 hours for the whole thing to cool sufficiently that I could dig the bloom out. I was quite pleased. First of all, I pulled out one small chunk, and then as I was poking around further in the ashes, I could hear there was another chunk deeper down in the hole. I managed to get that out with a bit of effort. Some of the chunks I pulled out of the hole were actually the soil which had fused, so I must have made some sort of lava down inside the hole. I tried this once before, never very successfully, but this did seem to work, so that's something I may revisit, trying to make lava in the back garden. Here you can see the results. This was the large bloom which formed much deeper down in the hole. It must have been molten and actually worked its way down. You can see there's some inclusions in this. There's some charcoal, there's some stones from the gravel that must have fallen down. And not everything seems to have melted. There's still a recognisable bolt sticking out of the top. But the whole thing weighs about 1 kilo and is fairly well melted. If this was still hot, if this had come out of a proper furnace or proper forge, I'd be able to actually beat this on an anvil and probably get most of the inclusions out and produce a much easier to work piece of iron.